I have often said that if you're a woodworker, you also need to have a 3D printer in your shop. Well, recently I just got a brand new CNC machine that I'm in the process of building a table for and setting up this new machine. And one of the first things that I like to do is review the manual and see what comes with the machine and what doesn't come with the machine. Now, this machine doesn't come with the spindle. You'd have to purchase it separate. But that's okay because there's so many different options out there. Whether it's a regular router that you want to use, the spindle that they offer, or many other different options. But one of the things that they do provide is the router mount for a 65 millimeter router. Now, that works great for the Makita. It also works great for the spindle that they have available on their website. And it's very inexpensive. But what I wanted to be able to do is not have to take apart one of my other machines and grab the Makita that I have in the background here. Now I wanted to be able to use the DeWalt 611 router, which is 69 millimeters. So this will not work. So I made this, and this will work. And that's why I believe in having a 3D printer in the shop. Now, because I have the DeWalt 611 router already in the shop available, I didn't really see any reason to spend the money. So I took the basic measurements from the original one and designed this in Tinkercad and made my own. And does it fit? Yeah, this fits perfect. That is going to work out really, really well. I've already checked the alignment of the holes. They're going to work out just perfect. So this is going to be, I'm hoping, a good substitute. We're going to see how this 3D printed mount actually holds up in the operation of the CNC machine. I do plan on using the spindle, and I want to be able to get that to put onto this machine. Quite frankly, having the spindle is much quieter, and I like the fact that I can set it up where it's easily turned on and off with the project as it's carving. But I want this as an option also. I want to be able to test it out, so if I want to be able to use the DeWalt 611 router, well, that option is available to me. I designed this router mount using the Tinkercad software. Now, this is a free software that you can download and be able to make all types of different items. And many of those items I've actually shown on this channel. Those items, for the most part, have been items that I can use in the shop. But I've also been able to make some other items for the kids as well. Now, one of the things that I did when I designed this is I made this where it was a 20% infill. Hopefully that will be strong enough. The only part that concerns me at all is where the bolts will attach on the front to put the tension on the router. So this is going to be a good experiment to see if this mount will hold up or if it's just going to end up being trash. Only time will tell. Either way, I like to be able to experiment and share these ideas with you so that if it works, great, you can do this in your shop. And if it doesn't work, well, that's okay too. Then you will know, don't try this in your shop on your machine. So it's going to be a fun experiment just to see how effective this is. Now, this only took just over 4 hours to be able to print. I can't wait to be able to try this out on the new CNC machine by Genmitsu and see how this mount holds up. As I said earlier, I am going to get the spindle for this machine and use that as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this new CNC machine. Right now though, I want to be able to take just a few minutes and open up Tinkercad and show you how I designed this 69 millimeter router mount. I opened up the Tinkercad software. I'm going to click on this. And this is the router mount that I had made, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. Now this is basically just really 3 different components. The first thing that I did, it made this back section right here, and then the next section was this component right here where I could put the hole in the center for the 69 millimeter. And then the last component was this little section right up here that I attached to it. Of course, the holes I put into this and finished out the part. And these holes do have it where it's recessed in, so the head of the bolt will go inside of that. And it goes, of course, all the way through, and I'm going to put a nut on the back side. So I'm going to slide this out of the way, and let's take a look at this back component. And the first thing we're going to need to do is bring in a rectangle. Now this back component is 35 millimeters tall, and as far as the size is going to be 110 millimeters on the x-axis and 10 millimeters on the y-axis. And there you go. That's the back component. Just that simple. All right, to do this next component in the center, we're going to bring that over here. And first thing I'm going to do is set this for the 35 millimeters high. And then as for the second part, let's see, it may be a little bit dark in here, but you can see that that's 85, we'll just call that 85 millimeters on the x-axis. And then on the y-axis, let's measure this. And this is actually 90 millimeters, but we also need to subtract the 10 millimeters for this section there. So that's going to be 80 millimeters. There we go. So that's the second component. And that's just basically a big rectangle. So let me slide that over just a little bit, and let's get the hole in here. Bring that right into here. And this is going to be the 69 millimeters. Now the next thing I want to do, you'll see this looks like kind of a jagged edge. Well, you can even out these sides by just bringing that up to the maximum, and that makes a nice smooth edge. And that's what I'm looking for. Of course, the height, I'm going to make it just slightly higher. Instead of 35, I'll make it just, let's just say 40. That way I know that it will work. And then from there, we're going to group both of these together. Come up here to the alignment tool and click on this dot, and we'll click on that dot. And now that centers it. And while I'm here, might as well group this component together. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Now, let's put these two together and combine those. And one of the easiest ways to do that, I can grab this and bring it over close. Okay, but that's still not exactly where it needs to be. Okay, you can see it's close, but it's not there. So what I can do is actually bring up a second wall, and that's going to make that plane right there. Hit D for this component, and that attaches it. And then we can get rid of that. And then I want to center that. So highlight both of the components. And we'll just hit the align tool and align it to the center. And that takes care of it. There you go. Now let's go ahead and combine and group these together. And you can see how it's taken shape very quickly. Now I brought forward the original part, and you can see I have the 45-degree cutoffs here. Is that really necessary? No, not really. But here's the thing, it will save a little bit of printing time, and it'll save a little bit of filament. And of course, it matches the original router mount. So let's take this back out of the way, and let's bring in another piece. I'm going to start off with the solid one. We're going to raise this up to 35 millimeters. And we'll make this, I'm just going to make it an arbitrary number. We'll just say 40 and 40. That should be plenty. Whoops, I don't think it took it. Nope, didn't. Okay. And then I can take and rotate this to 45 degrees. Just like that. So let's duplicate this, hit Control C and Control V. Then I'll take that and slide it right over into that point, and we'll line it to right there. And you can look and see how that looks. And I can measure that out, but I wanted to be able to give you just the idea of what it's going to look like. Now, let's change these blocks over to the hollow, and then let's group it together. And there you go. That's looking pretty good. The last component that we need are these two pieces right here that we need to put in, and we need to put in this little slot right there. Now I made this slot just 3 millimeters. You could probably make it 2 millimeters if you wish. It's whatever you want to be able to do. So I'm going to take this now and slide it back out of the way. And let's do that first. Let's put in this slot, and this again needs to be, well, we'll just make it 30, let's make it 40. I want to make it a little bit higher so that you can see it. And we'll make this on the x-axis, we'll make that 3 millimeters. 20 is fine. And we'll take it and we'll slide it right over into that area. Now, that's not centered yet, so let's just highlight both of them. We'll come up to the Align tool and we'll hit the Align. Now it's in the center, and we'll group them together. And there you go. Now you have that slot in the middle. Now we need to make these. Now this is going to be 10 millimeters thick, 35 millimeters tall, and we'll make it about 14 millimeters. All right, so let's grab the rectangle. We'll bring that down. And first thing, we'll make that 35. Then on the x-axis, we'll make that 10 millimeters. Y-axis, we'll make it 14. And there we go. There's our component. And we'll Control C, Control V to make 2 of them. And then we can slide it over here and drop them in place. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take and put this other plane right there. And then I can select this component, hit D, select this component, D. That brings it down right to that plane, just like that. And we'll click out of that. Now, one of the things I could have done, instead of making this as 2 components, I could make it as 1 and then sliced it in half one time. But I want to show you another tool down here at the bottom corner, how I can move these components left and right to be able to line it to that little slot that I had made. Now I can change this setting. I'm going to use this setting because I haven't done that before. And I'm going to leave this at 1 millimeter for a moment. And then I'm just going to slide that over. Same thing with this one. Slide that over. That's going to be too far, and that's okay. Now what I can do is actually change this down to 0.1 millimeter and then just be able to slide that over just a little bit. So if I select that, move it over just a little bit, you can see when it comes into alignment. Same thing with this. So this is just an easy way to be able to do it. And now you can see that those line up. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And of course, let's group everything together. So now it's grouped together. Perfect. That's looking really nice. The only thing that's left now is to put the screw holes in. First thing we need to do is make the hole for the screws to be able to go into this. And this is going to be, I'm just going to make this an arbitrary height right now. We'll just make it 35 again. But I want this to be 5.88 millimeters. help to hit the right button. So that takes care of that part. Now we also have to have it where the head of the bolt will go down in here also. So I need a bigger portion. So let's grab another section. And this is going to be a depth of 9 millimeters. So I'll just type in the 9 millimeters. That'll give me the height that I need. As far as the diameter, it's also 9 millimeter. So I'll type in 9 millimeter for the diameter. Once I have that done, then I'm going to highlight both components and we're going to hit the Align tool. That will put them exactly where they need to be. Now I have basically the screw hole. Last step, of course, is to group it together to make one component. And then next, I'm going to rotate it to 90 degrees. Now this next step, there's several different ways that you can do this. But what I'm going to do to begin with is just highlight this and make a copy of it. That way I'll have two, and then I'll set up and establish the location of where they need to be. Now I could group them together to begin with and go that route, or I can just do it as the individual placement of the screws. Either way, it works just fine. But I'm going to slide it over about where it needs to be, and then I'm going to rotate this around so I can see the end of this hole, and I'll place it where it needs to be. One of the things, to be able to establish the height, I want to bring it up 3 millimeters from the bed itself. So the easiest way to do that is move it down to the bed. And as we did before, all I need to do is highlight that object and hit D for down, and it puts it right on the base. And then from there, we'll just raise this up 3 millimeters. And the simplest way to do is just type it in, 3.0, and that will give me the placement that I want it. So with the Z-axis established, I need now to move this into the X-axis direction to get it to that point right there, and that's going to be perfect. I just repeated the same process for that second screw hole and put it in exactly where it needed to be, and I grouped them together. So now I can move these as one unit, and I can place it exactly where I want it. I'm happy with that. That's going to be perfect. So the last step, of course, is to be able to just group this together and make it part of the one component. And now you can see the holes is placed exactly where I wanted. They're perfectly aligned. So next, I'm going to take this second screw hole that I have, and we're going to work with establishing this with both of these screws together. So let's take, in first step, we're going to rotate this around to the 90 degrees. We're going to raise it up the 3 millimeters that I need to have it. And like I said, the easiest way is just to type it in. Now I could change the settings down at the bottom for the snap grid, but I didn't. So with that one done, we'll make a copy, Control C, Control V. Okay, this needs to be at 23 millimeters. And just type it in. Then I'm going to take these two. Let's make sure they're aligned. And that is aligned because that's the gray shadow. All right, and then we'll take and we'll group these together. There we go. And then we can take this and literally just slide it right over, put it in place. And there we go. We got it. That looks good. I'm going to slide this over on the y-axis just a little bit. And then from there, that looks great. Last step, group it together, and it will be done. So I've shown you two different ways now to be able to put the holes in. Either doing it individually or grouping the holes together and put them in at the same time. Either way, it works out just fine. Making this 69 millimeter router mount was an awful lot of fun. And I hope that you can see that using the Tinkercad is really not that difficult to build and make. a part like this. And I can't wait to be able to try this out on the CNC machine. But now I have both the 69 millimeter that I made, plus I have the 65 millimeter for the spindle or the Makita router. Either way, this is going to be a very fun experiment to see how this will actually hold up on the CNC machine. Just can't wait to be able to try it out. Hopefully, you'll take the opportunity to give me a like if you found this information useful. Subscribe right down there below. And don't forget, I have a lot of videos. I have over 800 videos on everything from the CNC machines, learning the different software, whether it's the VCAR Pro, the easel software, and by the way, don't forget, I have videos on cabinet building with and without the CNC machines and all types of home repair videos. And I hope that you'll stick around and take a look at some of the other different topics that I have, and hopefully you'll pick up a few tips along the way. So thanks a lot for watching. I look forward to seeing you real soon in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.